Buongiorno, buon pomeriggio, buonasera a tutti. Sono Saverio Nestico, il settimo presidente di Filitalia International, the seventh president of Filitalia International. And as some of you may have known already, I tend to come to you on a weekly, bi-weekly basis, introducing you more to the organization, to the fundamental people behind the organization, the leaders of our wonderful volunteer organization. I'm a volunteer, you're a volunteer, and together we're going to preserve, promote, and protect the Italian language and culture. This week, I have a special guest for you all, is Avvocato Roberto Petrone. Robert Petrone, a dear friend of mine. He's the first vice president of Filitalia International. He's also the chair of the Heritage Justice Committee. Wonderful man. We'll get to speak to him to learn a little bit more about him and some of the things that he's working on in the organization. But this week marks a very important week for the organization. We're going to be opening our scholarship applications for our members to apply for scholarships. Wonderful scholarship programs that we have within the organization, all done on the backs of volunteers and contributions from some of our members, from sponsors throughout decades, that we've been able to create these incredible endowments for the organization and for the students all the way from first grade up until medical school. We're very excited about that. Like I mentioned, all on the backs of volunteers creating these scholarship programs, soliciting these scholarship programs. And so if you're interested in doing one yourself, please feel free to reach out to us, reach out to me. Start a scholarship fund in your family's name, in your name, a loved one in their name as well, regardless of what grade level or academic level that they are. We can accommodate it as well. And so we were able to do so. Last year, we gave out over $25,000 to 30 students. And this year, we intend to do the same, sparing everyone can meet the requirements and the stringent requirements that we present forward to everyone. So that's going to be something big that we're working on. Some of the chapters, we're doing some new revitalization for the organization and trying to revitalize some of the oldest chapters of the organization. As you know, it's a volunteer organization, and sometimes you run into some ebb and flows of the organization where some things are going great and some things are a little bit more challenging. But Bucks County chapter of Pennsylvania, the Montgomery County chapter of Pennsylvania, some of the New Jersey chapters as well. So we're excited about that coming forward. Follow us on social media, follow our presence, and get to learn a little bit more about who we are. Also, in the link in the chat below, you'll see my Calendly link. I hope that all of you will take the opportunity to set up a conversation with me. If you're someone that wants to help grow the preservation and the promotion of Italian language and culture, then I want to speak to you, learn a little bit more about you, and tell you a little bit more about the organization and see how the two worlds can kind of collide and do some amazing things together. So please set up a call with me. My phone's always open. Even though I'm a volunteer, I'm always available for everyone to have a conversation. So those are just a couple of things that we're working on. There's so much happening within the organization. Like I mentioned, the scholarships, the chapters are doing some amazing things in Baltimore, our newest chapters in Italy and Argentina as well, that should be coming forth as well. And so we're going to be presenting to you all of those people as well. But for today, we're going to talk to Robert Petrone, and let's get him in on this call and on this meeting, and let's hear all the wonderful things that he has to say and all the wonderful things that he's been doing. Avvocato, how are you?
I'm doing great, Saverio. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you for joining me. So as I mentioned to you all, Avvocato Robert Petrone, he's not only is a good man, he's a father, he's an attorney, he's the first vice president of the organization, also the chair of the Heritage Justice Committee. So Robert, thanks for coming into my bi-weekly conversations with the organization so we can familiarize these people. I wanted to the whole point of this really was just so people understood who are the backbones of the organization. Who's running the organization, who's the mechanics behind it, and it's important to identify those people like yourself because we're all volunteers, right? And we're doing some amazing work. So Rob, please tell everyone a little bit about yourself, your background, and some of the things that you're working on within the organization.
Sure, I'd be happy to. Well, I'm a lifelong Philadelphian, except for the 5 years I spent living in New York City. When I first became an attorney, I was practicing as a prosecutor in the Bronx, and I came back home and began a family. And I wear many hats, but the best one is being a father. So I have three wonderful children. I have a son and two daughters, and they make everything worthwhile. So they're great kids. And then we live here at South Philly. And as a result of that, when I got involved with Filitalia, I became involved with the South Philadelphia chapter, first as a member of the board. And then before I knew it, it was a whirlwind romance. I became the president of the South Philadelphia chapter. And I like to think that my legacy with the South Philadelphia chapter was sort of restoring leadership to it, because it needed some leadership. So I did that. But no matter how good your leader is, you need good members. You need strong members, active members. And so what I did was I brought on board some folks that I thought would be very strong, active members. And one of them, Dominic Rossi, has now gone on to succeed me as president of the organization. And now as I'm assuming the role of first vice president of the parent organization. So I'm very happy to be working with you and Janice Morelli, who is the second vice president, and we're getting a lot done. So one of the other hats I wear, in addition to being the immediate past president of the South Philadelphia chapter, and therefore still ex officio a member of the board and counselor to the current president, and being vice president of parent organization, I'm also chair, as you mentioned, of the Heritage and Justice Commission. And this is the body that is largely responsible for the fact that the Christopher Columbus statue still stands in Philadelphia in Marconi Plaza, and the coverings have been taken down. George Bacchetto of Bacchetto and Lentz, he was the litigator that championed our cause, but he had a cadre of folks that sort of helped him behind the scenes. And I was a member of that cadre, even though at the time I was a criminal prosecutor in Philadelphia. And we were really precluded from doing political things. And I think that on some level that could have been seen as political. But I just did it anyway because it was too important. The truth, championing the truth is exalted over all other things, because the world falls apart if you don't tell the truth. So I did that. And I continue, now that I'm no longer working with the Philadelphia District Attorney's Office, I continue to work on the Columbus issue. Now I'm working as an attorney for a nonprofit organization called Congreso de Latinos Unidos, which is sort of a social services organization, a one-stop shop social services organization for victims of domestic violence, not just in the Latino community, but in anyone who's a victim of domestic violence. As a matter of fact, right now I'm representing a father who is trying to get his daughter back from being abducted to a foreign country in South America. So I'm doing great work there, and I'm very proud of that work. And so while I'm doing that, I'm also working with the Commission for Heritage Justice for the parent organization. And right now, what we're doing in conjunction with the communications committee of the South Philadelphia chapter is we're putting together a documentary about Christopher Columbus. Now that the legal work is done, we now have to win hearts and minds. And so we're putting together this documentary. It's going to be called Christopher Columbus, the First Civil Rights Activist of the Americas. And it's going to focus less on his 1492 voyage and more on his work rescuing Jews from the Inquisition, which started the year he left for his first voyage, rescuing Taínos from a campaign of genocide that the man-eating Carib tribe had been waging when the Europeans arrived, and his role in rescuing Taínos from the recalcitrant Hidalgos, the Spanish nobles that tried to force the Taínos to build their settlements. And he was involved in all of those. Those are his three underground railroads, I like to call them. And also the work he did in getting the first civil rights legislation of the Americas passed. He managed to petition the widowed King of Spain, Ferdinand, to issue the decree that all of the Indians of Hispaniola are to be left free, unmolested, and unharmed. and permitted to live as freemen like all others in the kingdom of Castile, end quote. So that was that. It was his role as that, and also his role as the first abolitionist, possibly in historical record. So these are the things it's going to focus on. We're looking for executive producers. We are hoping that Filitalia will be an executive producer of this documentary. We're also going to the Conference of Presidents of Major Italian American Organizations. I am also the co-chair of a committee in that umbrella organization called the Committee to Save Christopher Columbus Day as a national holiday. And so far we've been successful. You know, the President Biden did create a co-holiday on that same day, but at least Christopher Columbus Day is still on the books, and very, very much in large part due to the work of the Conference of Presidents. And so those are the Italian American organizations I'm involved with. That's my work as my employment and my work as a father. So I've got a lot. I'm juggling a lot, but I'm happy to be working with you.
What do you do for your spare time?
There is no spare time. There is no spare time. You know, I have a stack of books I would like to read, and they just sit there collecting dust. There's no spare time.
You know, for anyone that doesn't know, a few weeks ago, Robert was awarded an award, honored through Comites of Philadelphia. And during your speech, you said something really interesting about that. This wasn't, everyone always refers to you as someone that had all this passion, and you were like, if you don't mind, could you tell that? Can you describe that again about that?
Yeah, you know, when I was first enlisted to do this work to rescue the legacy of Christopher Columbus, it wasn't about the statue. It was about the municipal holiday. There's this lawyer in Philadelphia. He's a self-proclaimed radical, and he sent a letter to City Council exhorting City Council to eliminate the municipal holiday of Christopher Columbus Day because of what I call them the 8 slanders, the untruths that Columbus was supposedly a racist, rapist, maimer, murderer, slave owner, slave trader, grifter, and genocide heir. None of those things are true, as it turns out. But those are the 8 slanders that you hear. And so City Council hired me as a professional researcher to look into that. And I went back to the primary historical sources, which I was passingly familiar with, but then became intimately familiar with. I read them in 15th century Spanish, and I presented these reports to City Council on my research. And those reports spun off into articles for Broad and Liberty, which is an online news periodical in Philadelphia. And that spun off into speaking engagements. That's how I got on the radar of Filitalia to begin with. And so I became renowned for this. And the things that I would write and the things that I would say, I said with a great deal of vehemence, because as Winston Churchill said, the lie makes it halfway around the world before the truth gets its boots on. And the lie had made it halfway around the world and made it all the way around the world. Everybody believed these lies about Columbus. And I got the boots on and I started stomping out these lies everywhere I could. And everybody would always say to me if they heard any of my presentations, or if they heard my radio show, Christopher Columbus University, on Radio Voice Italia, which if you look up Radio Voice Italia on the internet, you'll find their website and you'll find all of my 50 Christopher Columbus University segments. They're 20-minute segments each. You'll find them all on their archive. And the person who runs Radio Voice Italia, Joe Morinelli, he is also a member of Filitalia. He's the chair of the communications committee on the South Philadelphia chapter. So he's been great help getting the message out there. But anyone who listened to me or read my articles would always say the same thing to me. They would say, Robert, you're so passionate about Christopher Columbus. You're so passionate. And every time I'd be interviewed, this is Robert Petrone, someone who has a great deal of passion for Christopher Columbus. And the truth of the matter is, that's not where my passion lies. I never really cared about Christopher Columbus. The reason I went to the mat for him is because I have passion for the truth. Because, as I said, when you don't tell the truth, the world falls apart. The truth will set you free. These are not platitudes. These are not hackneyed expressions. That's a reality. And so that's why, you know, you hear passion in my voice when I speak. That's why you hear passion in my writings when you read it. It's not about Columbus as a person, although, you know, I have grown to greatly admire the man. I tend to think now, after having done all of this research, that perhaps besides Jesus Christ himself, Christopher Columbus may have been the greatest human being to ever live. He may have done more for civilization than anyone besides Jesus. So I have grown to become passionate about Columbus, but the passion that you hear is my passion for the truth and nothing else.
You know, what's incredible about what you're saying is that a lot of this may trigger some people, right? But it's okay. You're a person who wants to engage in conversation and friendly debate. And so I know people have come to me in the past and have expressed, you know, oh, why is Filitalia supporting this, A, B, C, and D? And I always defer. I said, well, you know, we have somebody that's quite the educator on this matter, and he's happy to speak to you. And so
And
some reach.
they never do. They never do,
Yeah.
Saverio. I have invited, when I had my radio show, almost, every other episode, I was inviting detractors to come and speak to me. I would reach out to people who wrote defamatory articles about Columbus or would say defamatory things, and I'd say, "Come on my radio show," and they never took me up on it. And when you refer people to me, they never contact me, and the reason is they don't really want to be exposed to the truth because they don't really care about Christopher Columbus either. If they had, they would have gone after Christopher Columbus Boulevard. They would have insisted that that be changed. They would insist that Columbus, Ohio be changed, that Christopher Columbus Charter School in Philadelphia, that the name of that be changed. But they didn't. What they're really doing is they were using the Christopher Columbus statues as flashpoints for mass mobs to begin a revolution, an economic and social revolution. And so they don't really care about Columbus, but when they can, they try to get that dig in there. But then when you refer them to me, they just back off and they just scurry back into the shadows.
Well, you know what? We're not going to stop, and that's what's important. And also, what we're going to do is in the chat below or in the caption below, we'll add the links for your Columbus University segments as well. And if everyone has an opportunity to read that stuff, and also Robert's always open to a conversation, and that's the important part. And his information will be available to everyone that wants to have it. I want to pivot to one last subject, and it's in regards to the South Philadelphia chapter. And so, for many of you that do or do not know, the base of the organization was founded in Philadelphia. And so, without a strong Philadelphia presence, it's going to be really challenging for the organization to thrive. So, we have two major chapters in Philadelphia: the South Philadelphia, Pennsylvania chapter, which Robert is the past president of, and then the Southeast Philadelphia Cosme chapter as well, which I was the past president of as well. And so, Rob, what are we doing about revitalizing that chapter? Dominic, I swear, we speak every day. He's an incredible guy. He's got great energy, and I absolutely love it. So tell everyone, I know we're having a meeting July 12th, so tell everyone about what we have going on there and what's coming forward.
Yeah, so Dominic is going to appoint a nominating committee. We're going to get all new members on the board of directors of the South Philadelphia chapter to really revitalize it. As I said, doesn't matter how good your leadership is. If your members aren't doing what needs to be done, it's not going to go anywhere, and you find yourself running on ice. So I recognized Dominic's verve immediately, and that I knew he was the perfect successor. And he has proven himself to be that. So he's going to have a nominating committee soon, drawn from members of the South Philadelphia chapter. They're going to nominate officers, and we're going to have a whole new board of directors. And we're looking for people who are driven, and I think we're going to find them, because the more we reach out to our members, the more we're discovering there are those who are very interested, like Dominic himself, very interested in doing something for the Italian American community. And I think that the fight and the victory over Columbus, I think that might have had some effect on Italian Americans in South Philadelphia. I think that might have given them, buoyed them, given them some verve to do something more. And they want to continue carrying that torch. So that's what we're working on. We're working on making sure that torch is carried, and that Italian heritage, Italian culture, Italian American heritage, Italian American culture is propagated to the next generation. And on that last point, Christopher Columbus University is over. I did my 50 episodes. They are archived. But Radio Voice Italia is still giving me a platform. And I and Mike DePilla, we are doing a new 20-minute segment on Radio Voice Italia called La Repubblica Americana, where we talk about how Italian culture influenced the Western world. So we're forwarding the mission of Filitalia by propagating a word about how Italian culture has influenced everything we do in ways that we don't even think of.
Excellent stuff, Robert. You're the reason why they tell you have passion is because you speak with such energy, and that's why. But there you got it. You have it. Avvocato Roberto Petrone is their father. He's a volunteer. He's a leader of the organization of Filitalia, where we help promote, preserve, and protect the Italian language and culture. all the links below will direct you to either a conversation with myself or a conversation with Avocato as well. But please, if you're interested, if you're engaging, please connect with us. We're always willing to have a conversation. So I'm Saverio Nestico, Robert Petrone. Ciao, ben, tutti. Ciao, ciao. Ciao, ciao.